Hello, hi. This few days like the weather is so great. 咁呢幾日咧天氣都好好嘅，so it's a little bit warmer. 咁所以就暖翻啲啦。So but I was supposed to go out to the library to write my paper. 咁我本身係想出去圖書館寫論文嘅，but I have like a FedEx document waiting. 咁但係我又喺度等緊我有一份 FedEx 嘅嘢寄嚟啦。So I'm just kind of stuck at home right now. 咁所以我就而家有少少被困在家中咁樣，因為要等文件。But anyway, so I will do the reading first. 咁我都要讀書先啦，咁樣。And then I will probably just try to write at home. 咁我都試下喺屋企寫文啦 ，cause it hasn't been very successful before. 咁但係之前就唔係好成功嘅，so I just work better in the library. 其實咧，我喺圖書館寫就寫得好啲。But we'll see. Hopefully the document will come soon. 咁希望份文件會快啲嚟啦，咁樣。Okay. Read to resist. Day 174. 當閱讀也是抗爭，第174日。A Concise History of Hong Kong by John Mark Carroll. 香港簡史，從殖民地至特別行政區。著者高馬可，譯者林立偉。When war broke out between Britain and China in autumn 1839, the Royal Navy quickly blockaded Canton. Although he would go down in history for later dismissing Hong Kong as little more than a barren island with hardly a house upon it, Foreign Secretary Lord Palmerston declared his intention to seize Hong Kong. On January 25, 1841, Captain Edward Belcher landed with a small group on the northern shore of the island and raised the British flag at what would become known as Possession Point. The next day, the naval commander of the British Expeditionary Force. Gordon Bremer, took formal possession in the name of the British Crown. In February 1841, Elliot tried to attract Chinese and foreign traders to Hong Kong with guarantees of free trade and protection under the British flag for Europeans and Chinese, and the right to practice Chinese customs and religions. 1 year later, the British Superintendency of Trade was moved from Macau to Hong Kong, prompting British firms to do the same. 1839年秋天，英中兩國爆發戰爭，英國皇家海軍迅速封鎖廣州。外交大臣鮑麥尊宣布有意佔領香港，儘管他後來形容香港為連屋子都沒有的一間荒島。1841年1月25日，愛德華·卑路乍 （Edward Belcher） 上校率領一小隊官兵登陸香港島北岸，並升起英國旗。這處地方後來稱為佔領角。譯註 Possession Point 即現今上環水坑口。翌日，英國遠征軍海軍司令白麥 Gordon Bremer 正式佔領香港，立為英女王陛下領土。在1841年2月，義律宣布保證自由貿易，英國為洋人和華人提供保護，並且可以奉行中國習俗和宗教，藉此吸引中外商人到香港。1年後，英國駐華商務監督處從澳門遷到香港，促使英國公司跟隨。The First Opium War ended officially with the Treaty of Nanking, signed on August 29, 1842. Apart from the imposing on China a huge indemnity, ending the coal-hong monopoly, fixing rates for customs duties, and opening 5 Chinese ports to foreign trade and residents, this treaty ceded the island of Hong Kong to Britain in perpetuity. It also granted the British the right of extraterritoriality, meaning the British subjects in China would be tried by British judges. And the most favored nation clause guaranteed that Britain would receive the same concessions subsequently granted to any other nation. This treaty is known in China as the first of the many so-called unequal treaties forced on a weak China after military defeats by Western powers in the 19th century. Treaties ending wars are invariably unequal, but these treaties are particularly notorious in Chinese history as markers of the century of shame that lasted until the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949. 1842年8月29日，南京條約簽訂，第一次鴉片戰爭正式結束。該條約除了要求中國償款巨額賠款，結束工行壟斷制度，雙方協定關稅，開放5口岸與外國人通商居住岸，還定明香港島永久割讓給英國，給予英國治外法權，即在華英人由英國法官審理，並載有最惠國條款，保證日後中國賦予其他國家的優惠，英國可一體軍戰。19世紀西方列強在軍事上打敗積弱已久的中國，強迫中國簽下多條不平等條約。南京條約就是中國人眼中最早的一條。雖然戰爭結束後所簽的條約總是不平等的，但這些條約在中國歷史裏尤其惡名昭彰，是百年屈辱的印記。直至1949年中華人民共和國成立，這百年屈辱才告一段落。So this is the reading of today. 咁今日就係讀到呢度啦 ，which ends like the first Opium War。咁我哋就完咗第一次嘅鴉片戰爭 ，and understand like how Hong Kong was being ceded。咁就明白咗咧香港到底係點樣被割讓出去或者被佔領嘅咁樣啦。So there's not like a very long detailed description of the war。咁當然即係唔係一個好詳細嘅記錄，到底即係戰爭發生咗啲咩事啊咁樣啦。But it's like mentioned that one very important thing is that like this is just the first of many other unequal treaties that come into play in Chinese history。咁但係就講緊即係中國歷史上面即係一連串嘅不平等嘅條約咧，就係由南京條約呢度開始啦咁樣。As I have said， 咁我都之前有講過啦。The Treaty of Nanking is right now in Taiwan actually。咁其實南京條約而家係喺台灣嘅。So for us in Hong Kong， 咁對於我哋香港人嚟講咧，we also think like the Taiwan is the like for me Taiwan is the legitimate China that has taken back the sovereignty from Manchurians of Qing Dynasty。咁對於我嚟講咧，我就認為即係其實係中華民國係台灣先至係正式起義成功，然後就係重奪翻即係中國呢個主權，即係由滿洲人嘅手上就係革命成功攞翻即係中國呢一個主權嘅呢個國家咁樣。So for me, if you're talking about like let's hand over Hong Kong back to its so-called rightful kind of sovereignty。咁即係如果我哋講話要將香港還翻或者即係移交翻個主權去翻一個所謂係佢合法即係或者合理擁有即係呢一個香港主權嘅地方咧，咁樣或者國家咧咁。For me is Taiwan。咁對我嚟講就係台灣。Now this is also very interesting. Like I wish they would talk about like why ended up they would recognize PRC, like the Communist Party rather than Taiwan as China later on。咁我希望呢度即係本書唔知會唔會即係提到就係點解最後會係喺台灣同中國之間揀咗承認中華人民共和國做中國，而唔係中華民國係中國咧咁。There's a lot of like diplomacy and politics behind, of course。咁當然背後有好多外交啊、政治嘅因素嘅影響啊咁樣樣啦咁。But recently, just by reading and listening and attending to a few kind of like academic sharing seminars, lectures, and also readings and sort of having conversations and dialogues。咁即係近排因為即係多咗接觸啲即係可能係即係學術啊、會議啊、或者見人傾偈啊，即係諸如此類咧。Then it had occurred to me like Kissinger is a person that actually did a lot of things that have affect the world negatively right now. Like so what he did at the time has such great impact that is still going on right now because of what happened at the time. And it seems that they're all quite negative as well. 咁就發現咗基辛格原來係喺即係呢個歷史世界歷史裏面咧，佢因為佢做過嘅好多嘢咧，excuse me， 而令到即係呢個世界原來好多個地方，即係唔同嘅地方、唔同嘅國家而家面對嘅問題咧，其實都同佢有關嘅咁樣啦，或者係佢係。咁so it would also be very interesting to talk about Kissinger's kind of like policy or you know like what kind of decision that he had made that had influenced power play in the world, you know like you know we should find someday to talk about that too。咁我覺得應該揾日咧都討論下，即係基辛格佢當年即係做呢個國務卿嘅時候，即係佢嗰啲政策啊，佢做嗰啲決定點樣影響到而家全世界即係全球嗰個嘅權力嘅運作同埋即係係啦，即係個影響喺邊咧？咁我覺得都應該係好有趣嘅 ，because like we're always tracing back to that era, you know, like and yeah, it's I find it very interesting。咁我覺得好有趣，因為即係最近聽翻好多嘢都翻去都係原來係佢做嘅喎，啲嘢原來係佢個年代嘅嘢嚟嘅喎，咁樣咯咁。So I guess like just finding the fun of like reading or studying history。咁我覺得呢個都係即係讀歷史或者即係去研究歷史嘅時候，即係嗰啲有趣嘅事情啦，就係即係從即係到底個點喺邊度咧？即係 like I'm always interested in you know what is the root problem of this world。因為我成日都喺度揾到底我哋而家個世界嗰個根源問題喺邊度咧咁樣。And so like just to find you know how one person in history can you know cause such huge ripples that it would actually go beyond like you know decades and it's just fascinating. I mean even though it's not a very pleasant kind of like influence。 咁同埋即係發現一個人嘅力量原來可以係製造一個咁嘅漣漪一路，然後推進影響到即係幾十年之後嘅事，都覺得即係好神奇啦！即係 and how can one person be so powerful in a way？ 即係點解一個人可以咁有權力嘅咧？即係點樣走出嚟嘅咧？咁 which might also help us to understand what is going on right now with Russia's invasion, with all these different kind of civil wars happening around the world, with how again and again Taliban can you know like be in power in Afghanistan and you know all these sort of like talk about like how things were better before and then like just one night it could switch and then turn bad again。 即係點樣？即係你要經歷好多年先至可能會即係做得好嘅嘢，即係卒之見到曙光，然後一夜之間就可以即係啦反轉晒成個世界咧咁。So we in Hong Kong have had like this sort of like experience for the past 3 years。 咁我哋香港當然啦，即係過去嘅3年啦。Or you should say like it probably actually started earlier from the umbrella movement 2014 or even earlier from you know from the handover whatever。 咁當然你可以話再早啲即係講雨傘，或者再早啲講即係主權移交咁。But it's just like to see that how it's something that we have built for 150 years。 但係你睇住150年嘅成果 just being turned upside down within 3 years， 就係3年裡面就可以變成咁。All because of one guy decided to kill his girlfriend in Taiwan 就係因為一條友決定佢要喺台灣旅行嘅時候懟冧自己女朋友。 And when you think about it, it's just ridiculous, right? It's surreal. 咁但係你咁樣諗嘅時候好荒謬啦，即係好超現實啦。But we can talk about it more later. 咁我哋之後可以再講多啲啦。And I'll see you again tomorrow. 咁我聽日再見，拜拜。